Join me tonight on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to talk about the Jets and Bills game in real time. It's a Monday Night Football matchup, and it's right here on JG9 Live. You won't want to miss it. And now, on with our feature presentation. September 10th, 2023. It's week 1 of a brand new NFL season, and we've got an interconference battle on our hands at the Superdome between the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. While this is obviously a big game for both teams, as it is opening day, and you want to start the season off on the right foot, it's especially big for the Titans because after the disastrous end to whatever the heck happened in 2022, where the Titans started 7-3 before dropping their final 7 games in one of the craziest collapses in NFL history, even if part of that was injury-related, they really want to win to get some momentum to start the year off. Plus, it's a tough start to the season, with 2 of the next 3 after this coming against the Chargers and the Bengals, 2 of the best teams in the AFC on paper. So a win here would be nice. However, the offense finds itself struggling, as Ryan Tannehill, who did not play in the preseason at all, is insanely rusty off of the bat. He finishes the game completing less than 50% of his passes, going 16 for 34 with 198 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 28.8, which is worse than if he did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. And that number would be even worse if it wasn't for a 46-yard screen pass to Derrick Henry, heavily inflating the numbers, where Tannehill had to do absolutely nothing but just watch Derrick Henry beat Derrick freaking Henry. With all that in mind, the Titans get the ball back with 6:42 left in the contest at their own 27-yard line, trailing in this one 16-12. Down by 4 points, it's obvious what you have to do with time running out. Drive down the field and get a touchdown. You have to get 7 here. You cannot settle for anything less. Well, sure enough, the Titans mount a nice little drive. A pass on 3rd down to Nick Westbrook-Akine gets them into New Orleans territory. 2 plays later, once again, Tannehill hits Westbrook-Akine, this time for a gain of 24 yards to put the Titans in the red zone. This feels like one of those signature Titan comeback victories in the fourth quarter that they had throughout much of the Mike Vrabel era in 2020 and 2021, where they don't look great offensively, but they hang in there just long enough to pounce in the fourth quarter. However, after a run that goes nowhere and an incomplete pass, the Titans find themselves in a 3rd and 12 situation. You need to get down to the 5-yard line for the first down, and to keep the chains moving, and to keep the drive alive. Let's see what happens here.
Gets the snap with 1 second left. Tannehill on 3rd down, sidearm.
Alright, not ideal, but not the worst thing either. On one hand, no, you did not pick up the first down. You're 6 yards short, so you've got your work cut out for you on 4th down to say the least. On the other hand, you did get 6 yards, so it is 4th and manageable, which is good, because again, with time running out, you absolutely need to pick up a first down here to keep the drive alive. 4th and 6 is doable. You've got plenty of options. Get to the 5, and you're in a goal-to-go situation, and you've essentially won the game, or at the very least, gotten the go-ahead touchdown, because Henry's not getting stuffed 4 times from the 5. So, new season and a new offensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel, let's see what play you got lined up. You're kicking the field goal. You're kicking the field goal? Do you see the score? Do you see how much time is left? Why are you kicking the field goal? Why are you kicking the freaking field goal?
Nick Folk to pull within 1.
Well, I'm sure this won't come back to bite you in any way whatsoever.
As the Saints can nail it, I go back to this offseason.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Vrabel. Look, as much as I hate to admit it as a Jags fan, I think Vrabel's a heck of a coach, and he's one of the reasons that I think, to some extent, people are sleeping on the Titans this year. He's done more with less than just about any coach in football, and his coaching in certain situations borders on masterful. But this was not one of his finest moments. Not by a long shot. In fact, it is so unlike Vrabel that it seems to go against everything he believes in, and everything he would have done even 2 years ago. This was such a baffling decision on so many levels, where taking the points actually hurts you in the long run. So with that being said, let's take a look at why kicking a field goal down by 4 points with 2 minutes left in the red zone in a fourth and manageable situation is a really bad idea. Whenever making a decision, it should go without saying, but you always want to pick the one that gives your team a better chance of winning the football game. Because otherwise, what's the point? What are we doing here? And in this moment, Mike Vrabel had two options. Option one was to go for it and try and pick up the first down. If you get the first down, you've now got first and goal at the 5-yard line. And you're not just any team with first and goal at the 5. You're the Tennessee Titans. You have Derrick Henry on your team. Get Henry down to the 2 or the 3, and let's be real. Who's stopping Henry in a goal line situation? The Saints probably don't, seeing as Henry was a human tractor like always, and seeing as he had 119 yards from scrimmage. So the Saints had no answers for him whatsoever. If there's any running back in football from the 5-yard line that I'm giving the ball to 4 times and expecting him to find the end zone, it's Henry. History is on Tennessee's side. So let's call it for what it is. Based on the man in the backfield, if you get the first down and get the 6 yards needed to keep the drive alive, the odds are extremely high that you're going to punch it in and take the lead. The worst case scenario is that you don't get it, but that's the same as the worst case scenario if you don't get the field goal. So the two worst case scenarios are exactly the same. Keep that in mind, because now we're going to talk about the best case scenario for option 2, which is what Vrabel, for some reason, decided to do. Let's say you kick the field goal, and you make the field goal, which, let's be honest, it's a chip shot for a guy like Folk. It's now a 16-15 game. Guess what? You're still losing. There's just over 2 minutes left. And while the good news is that you have 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, so in actuality, it's 4 timeouts, the bad news is that time is not on your side. One first down, if it comes late enough in the first sequence of events, ends it. You have to get a 3 and out. Your defense has to force a 3 and out to essentially have any chance at winning the game. The Saints had 4 drives in the second half before Vrabel opted for the field goal. On all 4 of them, they got at least 1 first down. On all 4 of them, the game would likely be over right then and there, where you're not getting the ball back. In fact, of the 10 drives that the Saints had, on 8 of them, they got at least 1 first down and moved the ball to some extent. Your odds of converting a 4th and 6? Pretty reasonable. Your odds of getting a 3 and out? Based on how the game was going, 20%. And remember, that's just to get the ball back in the first place. Because now, if you get the ball back, you have about 140 to work with and no timeouts. Sure, you only need a field goal, but you still need to drive 40 some odd yards to get the field goal. But it gets even worse, because not only does this mean banking on Ryan Tannehill for an entire drive when everyone knows they're throwing, which again, may I remind you, his passer rating was 28.8 and he already had 3 interceptions, but this means that you can't use the best weapon on your team. If you need to cover a large distance in a short amount of time with no timeouts, you need big chunk plays, which means that you can't use Derrick Henry. So by kicking the field goal, not only do you essentially need your defense to force a 3 and out, but you need your offense to drive 40-plus yards down the field, and to do it without using their best player, thereby handicapping themselves. Which situation do you think gives you a better chance to win the game? Needing one play to get 6 yards, and then just hoping a probable future Hall of Fame running back who's been known for being a bulldozer gets 4 or 5 yards on the ensuing 4 plays, or needing a field goal, getting a 3 and out, then driving a considerable distance down the field without being able to run the ball with the best thing on your offense, and then kicking another field goal? I mean, what are we even doing here, people? Seriously. I found this reporter who said it best, and summed up some of my many thoughts on the situation. Easton Freeze said, the best case scenario there was going to be needing that very same offense that had struggled all day to march 40 to 50 yards into field goal range with about 100 seconds to play and with no timeouts. You have more faith in the defense getting a perfect stop and the offense doing all of that when the alternative was them converting a single 4th and 6? Couldn't have said it better myself, Easton. And ESPN agreed too. I'm not crazy about win probability, and I will never use it from a purely numerical standpoint to evaluate whether a decision was dumb or not. But according to the mathematics, the Titans' win probability went down by 10% by kicking the field goal. The odds that they win the game if they go for it on 4th and 6 are 1 in 3. If they convert it, obviously it's much higher. The odds that they win by kicking the field goal, even assuming they get the field goal, were about 1 in 5. It felt like a bad decision, and at least the math backs it up. But hang on, because it gets even worse. Because this is what really pushes this dumb decision over the edge. I guess you could make an argument for kicking the field goal here if the idea was that you're trying to score the touchdown. But if you don't get it, you'll settle for 3, and then just go from there and see what happens. But if that was the case, then why on 3rd and 12 is everyone running routes tons of yards short of the sticks? And why are multiple receivers running routes where even if they catch the ball, they are not in any position whatsoever to get yards after the catch because of the way the routes are? This is the screenshot of when Tannehill throws this football. DeAndre Hopkins is running a route over the middle, and you have 2 guys who are running 2-yard routes. This is the kind of route scheme you draw up if it's 4-down territory, where you have a guy go to the end zone, and if it's there, you let it fly, but you're really just trying to set up a 4th and manageable play. This is not the route scheme you draw up if you're saying, we need to get this 3rd down, or else we're screwed. So when it was 3rd and 12, were you just playing for the field goal the entire time? If that was the case, it would have been better off if you just spiked the ball to the ground. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. At least then, you get to save 40 seconds, and your defense doesn't necessarily have to force a 3 and out when you give it back. Not only did you not go for it on 4th down, but you did so after running one of the worst possible plays for that situation if it truly was 3-down territory, and the thought of going for it never crossed your mind. I mean, this is laughably bad. Settling for 3 points down by 4 in the red zone on 4th and manageable, after running a play that seemed to be entirely designed to set up 4th and manageable, and working in that regard. Genius. Absolutely genius. What's funny is that this is the 2nd straight season opener that the Titans had where their coaching staff kind of cost them the game in the 4th quarter with a really idiotic decision. Last year, I did a video about how the Titans played the New York Giants. The Titans were winning that game, and then on 3rd and 1, needing just 1 yard to pick up the 1st down and essentially put the game on ice, instead of giving it to Derrick Henry, they decided to get cute and decide that this would be a great time to call a tight end sweep. Seriously, a tight end sweep. Shocker, it didn't work, and the Giants ended up winning the game because of it. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. I don't know what it is, but if I had a nickel for every video that I've done about the Titans screwing up in their season opener, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. After the game, Mike Vrabel spoke on the decision, and his explanation was just bizarre. On why he kicked the field goal, he said, find a way to get the ball inside the 40 and kick a field goal to win the game. That's what I believe. Number one, yes, I suppose you could find a way to get inside the 40 and kick. But you need a bunch of different things to happen, and we already went over why that was highly unrealistic, or at the very least, highly improbable compared to the other scenario. Number two, even the target line is off. Nick Folk is 39 years old. His leg is not getting any stronger. His longest career field goal is 56 yards. So if you get inside the 40, it's a 57 or a 58-yard field goal, which he's not reaching. And he hasn't hit a kick of 55 yards or more since all the way back in 2015. So your target line was off by a solid 5 yards. You needed to get inside the 35, not the 40. But number three, what happened to you, Coach Vrabel? Seriously, what happened to you? This screams of a coach who's coaching scared. The Vrabel of old would have gone for it, and quite frankly, wouldn't have thought twice about it. The Vrabel of old would have shown guts. The man who went for it on the 4th down in overtime against the Eagles in 2018, and the man who went for 2 against the Chargers is a completely different coach from the man that kicked the field goal here. I don't know what happened, man, but this is just so not like the Vrabel that I used to know. So what do we learn from all of this? If you're down by 4 points, and there's 2 minutes left, and you've got a 4th and manageable in the red zone, don't kick the field goal. If your grand plan to get the ball back relies on forcing a 3 and out, when you haven't really done that all day, don't kick the field goal. If you have an incredible chance of winning the game by picking up the first down, and your odds are significantly higher than if you were to take the points, don't kick the field goal. And if your 3rd down play is designed to set up a 4th and manageable, shocker, don't kick the field goal. Because when all of these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.